Hello crafty friends, this is card number 42 in the full deck challenge. I'm going to be using a jumbo card for this one instead of the standard size, just for something different. I'm going to start by preparing the surface, and this will actually act as the background of my card. I want to go for a little bit of a vintage feel, so I'm going to add this dress pattern tissue paper with some Mod Podge onto the entire face of the card. I tend to pick the parts of the tissue paper that have markings and writing on because I do like that it adds interest to the overall look. I'm also going to add Mod Podge on top of the tissue paper. This will seal it and protect it because it's quite thin and flimsy and could tear easily. This is just sort of to bond it. If you don't have dress pattern tissue paper, you could use just regular tissue paper, the type that you'd use for wrapping a gift, or even napkins if you have some pretty napkins, or even plain napkins, just to give it a bit of a muted feel in the background. You could then also add inks to give it a vintage feel if that's the look you want to go for. Once all the Mod Podge is dry, we're just going to trim the edges. Once I've trimmed the edges, I'm going to use some distress ink just to distress the edges. I'm using the color Vintage Photo by Tim Holtz with an applicator, and I'm just going around the edges just to give it a little bit more dimension. I'm also going to add some stamping with a script stamp and some black ink. For this card, I decided I wanted to make a paper pinwheel. I thought it would be fun to do something different and something that's a bit interactive. Now, to make the pinwheel, you'll need some form of double-sided cardstock, something that's got a print on both sides. If you don't have a cardstock that has double sides, you can just find two single-sided ones, two prints that you like, and just stick the backs together. You do want a bit of a firmer cardstock, as a flimsy paper won't really work well for a pinwheel. I have cut mine into a square that is 7 centimeters by 7 centimeters, and then I've just distressed the edge. I'm finding the center of my square from measuring from each corner, because I'll need to have the center point where then I'm going to measure where I'm going to make the cuts. And I'm going to make a cut from each corner 3 centimeters into the center. You're not going to cut all the way to the center. Once you have your markings, you can just use the sharp scissors and cut over the markings. Remember, not all the way to the center. And then I'll just use an eraser to take off the pencil markings. Now we're going to start folding our pinwheel. We're going to pull the right corner of each section down to the middle. And I'm just using a hot glue gun to secure this. You could also use craft glue, double-sided tape. I just wanted to glue really fast, so I'm putting a small dot of hot glue, and then I'm just going around each one. As you can see, it's pretty easy. You're just bending it down. I'm not flattening it, I'm giving it a rounded edge, so my pinwheel is quite 3D. And you can see how effective it looks when you have a print on both sides of the cardstock you are using. I then place it onto my background, which is my card, and I'm feeling it's a little bit lost or drowning in the background because the background is sort of the same tone as the pinwheel print. I'm feeling it's not standing out as much as I want it to stand out, so I'm going to add a layer of white tissue paper over my dress pattern tissue paper just to lighten the background so that my pinwheel can stand out some more. It's never too late to join in the full deck challenge, where we are challenging ourselves to alter a full deck of playing cards. You can find my group on Facebook. Just search Full Deck Challenge Group, and there you will find like-minded individuals who love altering playing cards. You can get inspiration and also share your own creations. You can either follow my tutorials or just be inspired by them to create your own designs. I would also love if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have lots of videos, tutorials, flip-throughs, and process videos coming your way. Don't forget to also click on the little bell so that you're notified every time I upload new content. Also, watch out in October. I have a really big giveaway coming up for Christmas. It's the Shanouki Advent Calendar giveaway. To lighten up the background more, I'm going to do some stenciling with just some texture paste in white, just through the stencil that's like little circles. I think it adds to this polka dots of my pinwheel print, and I think it's lightened up quite nicely and will allow for the pinwheel to pop off the page. Once the texture paste is dry, we're going to add our pinwheel to the center of the card. I'm just going to measure the center just very roughly. I'm not very exact, but I do want a center point, and I'm just going to pierce a hole with my piercing tool. I'm also going to pierce a hole in the center of my pinwheel. To add my pinwheel to the background, I'm going to use this really large brad. I think a brad will work best as it'll allow the pinwheel to move and be interactive, so you can actually move it around. I have this really large one. It's from a set that I've had for a really long time, and the colors just match really well. It's got like an enamel top, and it's got beautiful colors that match. Before I add the brad, I've got some silver thread that I've just bunched up into sort of a loop, 2 loops, and glued it. And I'm just going to add that as well in the center, just for a little bit more dimension, so that the pinwheel is not quite so plain. As you can see, once you've put the brad down, it actually allows the pinwheel to move, which I think looks pretty cute. And then just to add a little bit more color and to balance everything out, I've got some smaller brads from the same set, which are matching in the orange, and then some orange and green polka dot that I'm going to add at the top and the bottom of the card to balance out the design. I really hope you enjoyed this video and were inspired to create your own pinwheel art. Remember, you don't have to use all the items I use in my videos. Please don't go out and buy things specifically. Try and use what you have in your craft stash. If you don't have brads, it's okay if you just stick the paper wheel down. It doesn't have to move around and be interactive. I'm adding a thin like a border all the way around the card with a black fine liner pen. I'm not using a ruler, I'm doing it freehand because I don't want it perfectly straight. I want it to look like it's hand drawn. I think this frames it and finishes off the card quite nicely. Still using the fine liner, I'm going to add some more detail to the actual paper pinwheel. I'm going to do little dashed lines on the lighter section, which looks like little hand stitching. And I think this detail gives it a good definition. Here is a close-up of my paper pinwheel altered playing card. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Bye.